Welcome back to Knew Amsterdam Radio, the podcast for creatives. It is I, the mayor, Flobo Boyce, and I'm in the mayor's office with somebody who is just an amazing person. That's kind of boilerplate, but let's go deeper. This guy made me feel like a star, and I was getting my feet wet in the hosting game, especially with wrestling shows, and basically taught me how to merge wrestling and myself, my personality, and being entertained rolled into one. He is the host of the Mandalorian Pro Show in JLJ Media. Give it up for the right guy, Ryan Nilsen. How you doing, sir?
Oh my God. It's Ryan. I'm doing well. How are you? Thank you for that lovely intro. That was so sweet of you.
Hey man, I have parting gifts for my guests, so all I get is their intros. That's the only time I get the chance.
Well, though, you and I, we saw each other, I think, like 5 times a week for a year and a half.
Yeah.
And then just like that, it was boom, a whole lot of space. And I think that's how it was for the majority of the planet.
Right.
With people they worked with, which is it's nuts.
This whole thing had a stop and go, but you're right. Like, what's funny about you, like me, filmmakers, right? I mean, I guess I have a degree in that, right? I don't know if I'm a filmmaker anymore, but I have a degree in that. There is a balance of being what they call hungry, being able to be attainable, being willing to work, being work is hard, but then also being personable and treating people like human beings and compassion. And I think you hit that, like the mid part of that pretty awesome. So I think you and I gravitated pretty quickly because you were about to hustle, but you weren't a jerk about it.
Thank you. Yeah, that's really kind of you to say. I know it's like hard for everyone to say. Yeah, it's hard for anyone to accept a compliment, but that I really appreciate that because that is something that I think like I was taught all growing up. And also just any internship or job I had, I always like those were the people that made me feel that way that I always like wanted to aspire to. Cause like, even if it was work I didn't like non-entertainment work, you know, like being a server at like a movie theater or working at a grocery store, like the people who would go out of their way to like, just be, you know, make something fun or like a little light and kind of just make any time more enjoyable. I always loved, but yeah, we met each other at AfterBuzz TV, which was like my former full-time job, producer there, Maria Menounos' company, and I was senior producer of Popcorn Talk Network. And like you just said, we're both film major grads. I went to Temple University in Philadelphia.
He went to a real school.
Dude, you went to a pretty big school. I mean, yours is the one I wanted to go to, and I just couldn't. I wasn't brave enough to travel across the country yet.
So that's a good point, and I'll get to my boilerplate questions later. But so I went to Chapman University in Orange County, and when I applied to grad school, I had like the idea of the big schools, you know, like USC and UCLA, and the odds of me getting in were like 11% as out of state. But Chapman, for hook or by crook, didn't necessarily ask for the projects you worked on. They asked for like a slate of the things you've done. And if they wanted to ask you to do anything, go for it. I was like, all right, I'm going to apply it as a lark. And I got in. And so I was like, I'm in a grad school, but I can't afford to go. They want $1,000 to hold this seat. And Mom was like, She goes to church and got a special offering. Oh my. So I had to go. So I was like this weird thing where it was like, go for it, and then I ended up being in film school. So like I kind of fell into it. So props for those who were like, I'm doing it. Mine was like grad school, I guess.
Grad school, I guess. Yeah, I mean, but hey, that's a big accomplishment, and you know that is a school that I did apply to. I did get in. I just wasn't ready, and also like you said, it has that like there's the whole money side of it too. But I visited. It's like the most gorgeous campus, and the alma mater is huge there. But yeah, regardless of what schools we went to, we did come across, our paths crossed.
Great.
And I just knew like when I met you, it was all about like wrestling, WWE, and that was something I had just gotten into the year before because one of my roommates invited me to a Raw that was happening in Philly, which I didn't know Philly was like the start of ECW, like all that. So there's always like great matches there. And the second I went, I was like, oh, I get this now. And then hearing you talk about it, you, Jack, Evan, Mac, like that just reinvigorated. Oh my gosh, the passion for this type of this content is very palpable. Like people really love this stuff.
Yeah, it's us for us grown nerds. I always say Shakespeare's around, but that's not really much a hit at parties. But it's not about me. Our thing. Yeah, we do have we have multiple things, but it's not about me. It's about you, man. I always ask my guests this here and there. If you're at a party and someone says, "What do you do?" Now you have a lot of slashes. I just want to know what you would tell someone. Let's see what you prioritize first. Which ones you add. What do you do, Ryan Nilsen?
Oh my gosh. And this is like the question that I feel like everyone dreads because you either have something like boom immediate to say, or if you're in this like in between job period, you're always like a bunch of stuff.
Right.
So if you ask me that at a party right now, I'd be like, I am a production coordinator for both movies and TV shows, and I would say I've had a lot of experience on with talk show networks and working on talk shows, but I'm a filmmaker and I want to be, and I'm a coordinator for hire right now. So that's what I would say.
That's smooth, man. It's
a little loaded.
It's loaded, but you know what? When I first got to LA, or by LA I mean after I graduated grad school and I moved up to LA, which is about 40 miles apart. I had this thing for slashes. I was like, I write and I do this, I do that, and do that, and I got to the point where myself, I say I'm a polymath or a Renaissance person, but like. When people introduce me, I'm like, oh yeah, I do that too. Ooh, that's awkward. Okay, that.
Right.
But okay, so I've also seen you recently on the Schmodown. Looked like SCN Network.
That's right.
Doing the thing. I mean, it's kind of interesting and surreal to see someone you worked with in the flesh in this virtual box going, I know that guy.
Thanks, man. Yeah, so that's what the schmoes know, who are now SCN, Schmodown Entertainment Network, movie trivia network on YouTube. They've been around for a couple of years now. It was pretty surreal. Like when I was in high school, I was a fan of this YouTube channel, The Schmoes Know, which were these two guys that review movies. And now everyone has a channel that reviews movies. But back then it was only a few channels and they were one of the first. And I was obsessed with them. Like I fell in love with movies in high school. And I just needed an outlet to share that fandom and love. Because like none of my friends loved movies like I did. So I found them. I had to listen to them all through high school, all through college. And it was just like when COVID started that I kind of dropped off. I kind of stopped listening to them. Right. But they were half the reason I even became aware of AfterBuzz TV, because they recorded out of there for a while. I've been keeping track of what they've been doing along the way. And then once you know it, I after COVID got furloughed at AfterBuzz. I moved home just because LA is very expensive. And Roxy Stryer, who's a mutual connection between them and where I worked, called me up and said, hey, there's a job opening with the schmoes at SEN. I put your name in, and I felt just this massive feeling of gratitude and gratefulness for that. So, I've been producing their daily talk show, SEN Live, 5 days a week from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on Pacific Standard Time since the end of November. And it's been great. Dream come true in many ways.
Are they still based out of Los Angeles, or are they moved as well?
So they're still based off Los Angeles. Their show, they've had many iterations of their podcast. For a while, it was just the Schmoes Know Show. Once a week, 2 hours. Then it kind of turned into a bunch of other shows at Collider. And then after they kind of parted ways with Collider, and they moved doing their own thing. And it's been a daily thing. And it used to be in studio in LA. But when COVID hit, they had to go all remote. So it's just one similar to like what we're doing right now over StreamYard, over Zoom. But they keep that show going. And the fan base has been... Man, they have a loyal fan base. It's really cool.
So a lot of things I asked for creatives post-COVID or during COVID, it's not really done. But like the idea of being fulfilled. I mean, your stages have changed. There is not the same thing as walking to a studio and putting on headsets, but you're doing a digital version of it. Does it slap the same? Does it feel different? Is it okay? Like, what are you saying on that?
Oh my gosh. I first and foremost, I'm like insanely grateful to just be working and doing that right now. I think anyone who has a job during COVID right now, it should be, it's a good feeling. And I will say I think, like I was saying earlier, I kind of dropped off from them when COVID started. This was like the first year, the beginning of 2020 was the first year I kind of stopped listening to them. And I've been a loyal fan for 8 years. Right. So it was a funny thing when they offered me the position, because I was actually hesitant. I was like, a year ago, if you asked me this, I would have jumped at it like instantly. Like I would have said yes before they finished asking the question. I had to think about it, because I was like, man, I just moved home. I know it's not a full-time job. It's part-time. It's probably going to restrict me from other things to do part-time, because I'm East Coast now. I'm 3 hours ahead. So it's like the middle of the day, not the morning. Right. But I think I'm so happy I said yes. And I was talking about it with my friends, and they were like, are you kidding me? You talked about this like all throughout high school. And I was like, okay, yeah, you're right. And so I have gotten that like creative movie talk, I guess fix in every day. However, like a lot of people right now in COVID, I'm still looking for a full-time job. I even told them that when they hired me. I was like, guys, I'm still gonna be applying to full-time stuff. So yeah, I do feel like a lot of people feel like, okay, well, this is a part-time thing. Like I still need to be making money in other ways. I need to be doing, some other stuff on the side. It's like all this pressure that everyone kind of feels right now to keep doing something. So I've been trying to just like network and apply to things every day, because for some reason, for a long time, I felt really guilty if I was doing something else than that. And a part-time job can be an excuse to not do that when you really should still be doing it.
Right. Did you consider moving back home a failure on some level?
Oh yeah. Oh, big time. And the whole transition was horrible. It was the last thing I wanted to do because I have a girlfriend out there. So that was like a whole other thing. Like I had some savings, and this is a whole other bag of worms I'm not going to go too deep into, but the unemployment situation in California is a nightmare. If you're filing for unemployment, they had a record high, and I still haven't got my money. Yeah. Like they're that backed up. It's been 6 months.
I just applied for employment. I got $40 a week, and I go, oh great,
it's crazy.
This is awesome.
And a lot of people, I'd say even majority of people, have it way worse than my situation. Like I know I'm eventually going to get it, but some people are having trouble even getting their application through. So that's a whole nightmare. So and then just I was lucky enough to get like this very affordable housing, and then that kind of fell through with some close friends of mine that made some decisions that like kind of put us in an awkward thing. So it was just like all this hard stuff, like one after the other, while like nothing's, everything's closed in LA. There's no work happening in LA, but I had some leads back home, and also I hadn't seen my family for all of COVID, and I really missed them. So it was like a really hard decision, but it was also at a point where I didn't really have a choice.
Right.
That's the hard thing. It's like you always want options, and I didn't have any other option. It was like you got to come home or you're gonna like bleed through your savings. So moved home and like had to live with that. And what was nice was like right when I got here, I got a few part-time gigs. Like I got a few on-set jobs. I worked on like an Adam Sandler Netflix movie. I worked on this thing called The Circus, which is a Showtime show, and it was covering the election. Like Joe Biden's from Delaware. I was able to like be in the, be involved in all that, which was cool. So like, you're right. Like I mentally was thinking like, oh my God, this is like a failure. But at the same time, I had to continually remind myself, like, everyone's kind of going through this. This is an insane time. We had an insurrection like 3 weeks ago. Like nothing's normal. Like you can't compare yourself to everyone else. So that's something I continually have to remind myself of.
Yeah, everyone's thing is unique, and I'm not here to tell you that because you already know. But did your network, they were okay with you coming back, or was there kind of some tension there? Was it like, okay, Hollywood, like what is your family, how they feel with your return?
I mean, my family was psyched to have me back, and they've been amazing. Like I'm really
posters in the wall. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they were like, we missed you. Like, oh yeah, and I'm really grateful to be home. I think the hardest thing, and I don't know if any of your other guests have like kind of commented on this, but personally, the majority of like not the majority, but a lot of my close friends in LA moved home like this summer. Like they moved out or they left. And then a lot of my like, work friends or even professional friends, like they were kind of still, if they still had jobs, they were doing their own thing, never available. So it was like a very lonely time in Los Angeles. And it's a city that, you can meet anyone at a party, anyone at a restaurant. Like there's that magical thing of, it's very competitive, but anything can happen any day. And when you add COVID to the mix, that's gone. You still have the awesome weather, but that's gone. And the cost of living did not really lower. So my network, like people were disappointed when I was telling them I'm going home, but like a lot of my friends had gone home. So no, it's been great. And I'm really fortunate to have people that have been so supportive of me since I've been home. But it's definitely been ups and downs.
So what are you looking to do, man? Like, I know you're on this road now, you're getting the brand back up, the confidence back up as a creator and producer, but I mean, what would be the next step? What would be the next dream job if there is another one?
Oh my gosh. Dream job right now is to work for Lucasfilm.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, look, you got the Star Wars poster right here. I am like the biggest Star Wars fan. Star Wars, I love Star Wars. That's something, and I should even say at AfterBuzz and Popcorn Talk, I did a Star Wars show. I wrote Star Wars articles. Thank you, I appreciate it. And like the anime shows, everything. I love Star Wars. I think we're in the golden age. It's a fandom that's very divisive, and there's a lot of gross parts of the fandom. But I'm loving it all, and I do think in a few years we're gonna look back and be like, wow, 2020 to 2022, whatever, that was the golden age. Like we were getting everything. And so that'd be my absolute dream. And I think I'm even allowed to say this, I've been fortunate enough to like meet a bunch of people who work there, and I've interviewed for a few things, that's been surreal. Like a dream job interview. Didn't think I was going to get it, but just the fact that I could interview, I was like, holy cow, this is amazing. So that's been a massive confidence boost. But my dream would be to work for Lucasfilm right now, like that.
Any capacity or just like a specific?
I feel like you're not supposed to say.
Fair enough.
But low key, yeah. In any capacity, I would totally work for Lucasfilm. I really love the producerial side of post production though. Like that's something I think we've talked about. Mm-hmm. Like for editors, I feel like movies, TV, it's made in the editing room. A story can have as many drafts for screenplay, even when you're on set, but it can become a totally different thing in the editing room. So that's where I want to go.
That's where I burnt out. I was the editing major in film school. We'll fix it in post. Fix it in post. No, reshoots make things look weird color matching wise.
So if anyone knows anyone at Lucasfilm, and even any listeners, please tweet at Ryan Nilsen and let me know.
You know what? This is what New Amsterdam was about. Like the idea was a community of people. So I try to get everyone from all over the world. If I say, hey, look, I used to date this girl that used to work at Lucasfilm. She's looking for people. Then whatever. Then we'll hit you up on social media afterwards. So at your time at Popcorn Talk, and I was gushing about this before we went live, we actually did an episode of Anatomy of a Movie where we broke down Sonic the Hedgehog, which was my Valentine's Day date, and as of now, the last movie I saw in a theater. You were also the senior producer of that network, meaning, I guess, the sub-network head, if that may be. Like, how did you go between being on-camera talent, producing work, and being a senior producer of Popcorn Talk?
Holy cow. Yeah. So first off, it was such an amazing experience. Like I mentioned earlier, as the schmoes, I was a huge fan of them. Movie Talk Network. I listen to movie podcasts all the time. So I was already familiar with Popcorn Talk because a lot of them had done shows of Popcorn Talk in years past. So when I got the job at AfterBuzz, I was like, guys, the movie network, like Popcorn Talk, like this is the thing that I'm like all about. I listen to these all the time. I have a lot of expertise with it. Film major, yada yada yada. So Kevin Undergar and Maria Menounos were very kind enough to kind of give me the reins, and that's what they hired me for. They were like, we're going to hire you to oversee this network, and like we want to see this happen, and like this grow. So just having like that freedom to bring back certain shows that might have been gone. Fiddle around with the formats of some shows, and on a movie level, I thought was great. And so it was a lot of work though. Like I feel like, some people might not frame this in like a positive light, but I definitely would. It was an insane amount of work, but that's kind of what you need to expect right out of college. And I think the experience I got there is not comparable to anything. Like it's priceless. I got experience running a network, giving hosts lessons, being a host, and I that's another thing is like you got to lead by example, which is something that Kevin and Maria I think did very well. With Maria being a host and then training her staff to like if you're going to give notes, at least you got to have some experience, in front of the camera too. It's almost like a lot of NFL coaches like used to be players because they have that firsthand experience. But like it's. I frankly, like I even as like an actor, I was a theater minor. I always loved to get notes, and if anyone was like, it's fine, then it's not going to get any better. Which is how if you ask any host probably at AfterBuzz, that's probably how they said. You said that a few times when you're like, "What are the notes? Just give me something."
Yeah, I did.
Anything to work on. So
it's cool.
Yeah, I mean, it was a ton of work though. Like it was 6 days a week. We're talking like 10, 12-hour days. You're like a lot of living with people you work with, and so like it's as much of a like physical struggle as it was mental to juggle it all. But again, like right out of college, that's the exact experience I kind of wanted. So I loved it, and I was really grateful to have it and learned a ton. Does that answer your question?
It does.
Okay.
Because it leads to my second question. A lot of us out there have picked up their offerings with everything slowing down. I would say, I always say this on my show, but I had one vlog and I did this podcast on my phone, talking to my phone in a hushed room because I was embarrassed of it. But it's grown into this show and 7 other digital networks and shows. So I want one of your experience, because a lot of these content creators have to be their own talent. They have to be their own producer, their own social media manager, their own talent booker. Like, any tips for someone starting on their journey?
Oh my gosh.
Give up! No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that. No, well, I mean, okay, so I think there's a few things. Like when I was growing up, when I was growing up watching all these fun YouTube movie talk shows, I wanted to do it. And the best advice that a lot of these creators, whenever I would tweet at them or would comment, like, how do you do this? Like, how do I get my channel started? Was they're like, just like try it and don't be afraid of failing. So like I made a YouTube channel. I reviewed movies, and like I'm a 15, 16-year-old kid. I got like pimples. I'm just talking about them, and like some got no views, some got a lot of views. Yeah. But like I learned a lot doing it, and that was like my own creative.
Can I just jump in here and say it trips me out that Twitter and YouTube were around when you were a kid? Because I didn't have that when I was a kid.
Isn't that nuts?
I'm old. Continue.
But the thing that I would say, so like I knew pretty quickly, like, oh, I don't know if I want to. After I did it a bunch, I kind of learned, okay, I like talking about movies with people. I don't really like reviewing them by myself. And that's why I got really, really into podcasts. But when it comes to like film and filmmaking, that was advice that like my favorite filmmaker right now gave me. His name's Jim Cummings. He's this indie filmmaker. He works at this company, Vanishing Angle, and he made a short called Thunder Road that I'm obsessed with. It's actually off of the Bruce Springsteen song, but it has its own little twist. It's such a good film. And I remember seeing it at the Philadelphia Film Festival, and I was just shook. Because it was something that I felt like I could have made. And I found out like afterwards, the budget was like only $180,000, which that sounds like a lot, but for indie, that's like very cheap.
Yeah.
He did a short that for just like $12,000 that got into Sundance, and I was like, oh my god, like this is stuff that I wish I was shown in film school, because it's like you could feasibly do this. Like this is sort of what you should be aiming to do right now. And I had the pleasure to meet him in LA, help out on his like latest feature in LA, and I got to talk to him for like 20 minutes. Yeah. And he said something that I'll never forget. This kind of like the overall answer to your question. Yeah. He was like, just do it. Don't care about the quality, because like that will always come. Do like a little bit of research for the quality, but first and foremost, it's like just that you're doing it because you're already that much at a better chance than others. And that's something I've struggled with this past 2 weeks. Like this is like breaking news. Ryan, what is he doing? Yeah. There's a short, I got inspired like 2 weeks ago to do a short documentary, which I haven't been inspired to make something like movie wise in a few years now, but 2 weeks ago I was like, I need to make this. So I ordered like a little lav mic that you could plug into a phone on Amazon. So if I'm interviewing someone, it's just a cheap thing that it will work. But like I didn't want to like stress out about like this being like this multi, $1,000 thing. Like I'm gonna do it for dirt cheap just because I want to do it. Yeah. So I think it's just like after you can do it, then the quality comes later. If that makes sense.
Is it done? Is it able to be seen?
Yeah, I'm having a creative meeting tonight.
Okay. Yeah, tonight. It is. Yeah.
So like maybe next time we talk, I'll be like, yeah, I decided not to pursue it, but like I'm trying. So that's something. Yeah, but I think what you were just saying, like just try it, and then you'll learn. It's like trial and error, and that sounds so simple, but I feel like it's the simple stuff that we all commonly forget.
No, I think a lot of us creatives, we have this because we've tried things creatively, and we always remember the bad feedback. Like for example, when I was a kid, I couldn't draw, and my first art teacher was not encouraging. Not blaming her specifically, but because of that, I never continued drawing, so I didn't get any better. You know what I'm saying? You only get better when you do it, and so a lot of us. Yeah, the teachers are very important, y'all. They should get paid more. But it's very important, though, to look at that and go, why is it every time I want to try something new, I spend so much time researching
like,
and not doing it. Yeah, so
it's
going
okay.
for it. Yeah, and you got to meet your favorite filmmaker. That's pretty awesome.
Like, oh my god, dude, Jim Cummings. Cool. Yeah, it's not Winnie the Pooh because I think that guy's also named Jim Cummings.
Yeah, Dark Green Duck, the original Dark
Green Duck. Right. Yeah, this is he's just like a few years older than me. He went to Emerson. And I just love his shorts. So like his whole thing, not to go on a whole Jim Cummings tangent, but his whole thing was he would write shorts specifically that were like just things he could do very quickly because he knew if he got in his head about it, or at least this is how he phrased it at the time when he was younger. He's like, if I got my head about it, if it was like becoming a big ask for people to help out, just more roadblocks for it not to happen. So he would write something that he could do in one shot. He loves filming things with like one takes. Because innately that's interesting to look at. And then it's like, oh, they pulled it off. They didn't cut. So that's what a lot of his short films were, because he could finish it in a day. It would be a lot of stress for that one day. Sure. But like you finished it in a day and then spent all the other time like, in post and everything like that. So yeah, now he's that's not any of his films anymore, but like it's quick, it's affordable, and I thought that was so smart. Like, wow, yeah, it's sort of a gimmick, but not really. It's a creative, it's like a creative barrier you're painting for yourself, and sometimes those aren't barriers. Sometimes those are things that like kind of leap it forward.
Yeah, well, that's good to know. I'm actually gonna hit him up, see what his films are about.
Oh, dude, he's great.
We're still in the top half of the year. I mean, do you have any resolutions / goals / things you want to handle in 2021?
I want to make a short.
Do it.
Which is like my resolution every year. Get another full-time job in entertainment, and the fourth. Okay, so I have four. So let's do a short, full-time job in entertainment. The third one. This one seems so petty, but like. I never really cooked much. I would always buy my food, order it, get it pre-made. And if I did cook, it was something so simple. It was just like stir fry, boom. Yeah. But I got really into cooking this past year.
Great.
Like I think a lot of people did. So I want to cook like at least majority of my meals. Like I even threw a percentage out there. I was like 80%. I want to just cook. So that's one there. And the fourth one, that's think
not petty at all. You're feeding yourself. I don't know how that's
you're petty. Feeding yourself. But sometimes people are like, you should be doing that anyway. And I was like, I wasn't doing that before. So sorry.
That's what it's a goal for you. That's so stupid.
I know. It's a goal for me.
Haters,
I think, yeah. And the fourth, I think, would just be, I want to, it's more of like a mental health thing. Just like, I want to make sure I'm like, doing everything at my own pace and not like really stressing out, because this is like an insane time. And again, like I'm in like a good frame of mind right now, but tonight I could totally not be talking like this or even listening to my own advice. Like I was talking with one of my friends the other day, and she was like, yeah, like this is insane right now. Like you can't expect anyone to do anything right now. Like it's, COVID, our industry's kind of like shut down. We just graduated like a few years ago, but there's all this expectation, and then everything with like, the vaccine, our age, like it's just like stuff has to be on hold. And I think so the fourth resolution, long story short, is I think just being patient and being okay that like certain things you want to do aren't going to happen for a little longer than you want.
It's funny that you mentioned that the what ifs. And it's always good to have someone in your inner circle to tell you things you may not have noticed, because you don't get in trouble. You don't do things without permits. But I've come to realize in my old age, in my pre-Twitter life, that a lot of times you pitch ideas to people with the best intentions, they may have the idea that you give them in their head. They don't have the inspiration or the drive. And so a lot of times what they're saying no to is just being like, huh? I don't get it. What about this and that? So I think that's the X factor that you have, that you can use to push this car, whatever, down the block,
Thanks, dude. Yeah, it's, again, like I feel like I hear so many people talk about this daily, but I really do think like a lot of this year, or a lot of the last past 6 months, I've continuously like gotten like very much in my head, like, oh my gosh, the fact that I don't have like this figured out right now is a problem, or the fact that I don't have, that figured out, the fact that I'm not getting this right now, like, oh my gosh, I'm failing in all these different areas. And I think it's just like you got to focus on the good, obviously, but yeah, and yeah, whoever you can talk to remind you of that. Like I became best friends with someone I barely knew before COVID this year, and we just talk about Star Wars, and we talk like 2 days a week, and it turns into like a 4-hour phone call. And it's not a podcast. I keep telling him like, dude, record when we call. But yeah, it's man, like it's just such a crazy time, and I just think we all need to be like comfortable at the pace things are going at. And I don't think that's something that's just COVID exclusive, but especially during COVID.
Yeah, well, these bubbles win. But Ryguy, I'm so glad that you came on this episode of Knew Amsterdam Radio. I've been trying to get you on the show for so long. I'm glad you finally made it. But if everyone is hearing the sounds of your velvety tones and they want to follow you on social media, how exactly would they do that, good sir?
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm sorry I couldn't come on sooner. Again, like just being totally honest, like I think all of December I was just like not on a lot of social media. Like you can even look at my photos posted. Like there's probably one in December. But so that's definitely on me, and I'm so sorry about that. I'm happy we got
baby. You're back.
No, but yeah, you can follow me at Ryan Nilsen, RYNILSEN on Twitter, and at Ryan Nilsen _ on Instagram. Just talking movies, tweeting out everything with movie news, Oscar hype, Eagles, Bruce Springsteen. It's all there.
Really? You're an Eagles fan?
Oh, yeah.
I had no idea. I know you're a Bruce Springsteen fan. I didn't know
the hat right here. Champions. Come on, dude. Philly.
I
mean, look at this. Oh my gosh, I got a foam. For the audio listeners, I got a foam Eagles hat right here.
He does have a foam Eagles hat.
Sixers. Let's go. Number one. At least right now.
Full disclosure, I thought you meant the band, but then you showed me the football game. I was like,
yeah.
Oh, right, duh.
Hotel California. Yeah, they're great. Because I mentioned Bruce Springsteen, it all makes sense right now.
Right. I'm slow. I went to public school, y'all.
No, that's not what I was. Okay.
I actually like the Eagles when they beat the Giants. That's all that matters. I'm actually a Texans fan, even though I'm from New York. But I like the fact that for some reason the Eagles always have New York's number. That's pretty fun.
There you go.
But yeah, I need you back on a future episode of Amsterdam Radio, good sir.
Yes, and I'm just excited to talk to you more. But I really appreciate you coming on. This is thanks for having me.